Okay, here we go. So this is a quick or relatively quick session about the calculator as we refer it into. And this is where we actually start. So first take you through some of the tabs that exist in this calculator, some of which you have to look at and some of which you have to don't look at all. So the one that will give you all of the information with regards to what tokens are being found by a piece of hardware is in the first step called token simulation. Then the next one is called parameters, which are all the parameters, and we'll talk a little bit about that are used in the modeling and that are used and could be adjusted for your specific territory, but not necessarily. I mean, the indication of the numbers as they are in is good enough for most of the geographies worldwide. Then there's three tabs which actually represent three platforms that we have certified and that we have known configurations for with HP Enterprise. As you might know, we've got a strategic partnership with HP Enterprise where they will secure the platforms of the factory. They will make it super closed and secure with regards to the hardware. I mean, we've done all the work at Threefold for the software and securing the operating system and all of the three bots that run on it. But in terms of actually closing down the hardware, HP Enterprise has something that is called Silicon Root of Trust, which means that the actual motherboard inside a computer has a unique ID which is being used to identify it. And the BIOS for the technicians out there that is included in the server also has the ability to be locked down and to actually know what hardware it has and if and when there is any changes, because again, a physical box is a physical box and in an open environment can be tampered with and can be changed. Then the BIOS will recognize that there's a different amount of memory, a different amount of disks, a different amount of anything that it has as components, and therefore it will not boot. So that's it, just as a background. So these three tabs specify three specific platforms that actually are being certified by us, and this will grow. Over time, we will get more. This particular tab has a lot of components in it, which are the components that make up these three platforms. It's a VLOOKUP, a vertical lookup list, where we have specified specific costs, specific power consumption, number of cores, number of gigabytes, and so on. Specifically hardware related items. You wouldn't have to look at it at all. Take a look at it to just inform yourself, but there's no need to actually change anything in this if you want to work with the platforms as we know them. And then the last bit is a definitions bit about what do we see and what do we recognize as a compute unit, what do we recognize as a storage unit as the industry talks about it, how many cores, how many gigabytes of RAM do you get, and you can all look it up in this particular tab. Sorry for that. So back to token simulation, because this is where it's all about, and this is where you can simulate, let's say, the actual working. And as you recognize, the three tabs that are here, and here, and here, are also represented here. So a microserver, which is something you would use in the home. A server DL385 is a converged server, which has both compute and storage inside. And then the Apollo has an inclination to be more a storage-oriented server because it's got lots and lots and lots of disks. Then you'll find a number of blocks here, and we'll go through them one by one, what they mean, what they do, and how to basically look at it in a very high-level way. And again, for any questions that might remain, please feel free to address them to us. There's two people that you can address these questions to. One is Andreas, and somewhere in the notes, I will make a mention of his Telegram handle / his email address, and same for myself. No worries there. One more remark, everything that's marked in red, and usually is bold, is something that you can change, and we want you to change to basically work the model according to your beliefs and to your assumptions. All of the others you can actually change as well, but that's when you start to basically meddle and interfere with the modeling logic, which you can do because again, this is open. I would recommend before doing so to always make, because we have one, again with us it's always there's one source, there's only one truth, which means there's one of this sheet. If and when you want to really go and have a look at it in depth, please make a copy and then save the copy into your own Google Drive and change the hell out of it as you wish. Again, how are the workings? And I'll use this particular setup to talk through it, which represents all of the equipment that's represented in this tab. So it's a DL385, a very common server that HPE sells a lot. Again, it's being made up of all of these components that are actually in the box, and these components are obviously listed in this particular tab. You can find them back. But these are the ones that actually are being used to build the DL385 configuration as we see it's one of the best things to invest in. Total cost of actually purchasing that with the discount levels as applicable and agreed with us by HP Enterprises, almost $19,000. It's got 64 cores, which is the AMD processor. It's got in total 256 gigabytes of memory. It's got 7.6 terabytes of SSD storage, and it's got 96 terabytes of spinning HDD storage. In total, the assumption is, and again, I know it depends on the workload, but it uses approximately 366 watts per hour of power, which is 0.37 kilowatts. The sizing is 2U, so if and when you put it in a data center, you need to basically plan for having 2U plus whatever other equipment like switches you need around it to have there. Then our internal assumption in terms of the electricity cost, again, that base is based on your geography, what the power costs in your region. You can find that back in the Paramstab where there is an actual cost per kilowatt hour, which in this case is $15 and if and when we actually use it in a data center, it's $25 cents per kilowatt hour. Again, all of that is being used in this tab to calculate that this particular server, once put on 24 hours a day in a month, it will collect $66 worth of actual cost to run it. Rack space is another one. Again, we assumed that the rack space cost per U per month is $15 based on the average pricing in Europe / the US. It could be higher in the region where you are. Then obviously same thing in the Paramstab. Please adjust this price, which is, let me quickly find that, based here. Oh, anyway, you'll find it. It's in here somewhere. That's about as far as you need to go in this particular tab. You've got your investment cost, you've got your running cost in terms of actually turning the server on, in terms of actually having it in a rack, and then the rest of this is all some calculations back to what we talked about earlier, the compute unit, storage unit, and network unit, which again is a cost which you have to incur because you need to connect your box to the network. This will tell you the total number of actual based on all of the rules that we've built into the model in terms of how we recognize farming equipment. So this particular box will present 61 compute units. That's a combination of both cores and memory. It will have 172 storage units, which is a combination of SSD and HDD. And in order to use that in a way that we see fit, you need 40 to 190 network units to push data in and out, which makes the box usable on the grid. Having done all of those numbers, and again, if you really want to go in detail, you can obviously change these numbers to any box that you have to get to a similar setup. So if and when you feel like it, please feel free to do so. Again, remember, first make a copy because we only have one source of truth, which is this one. So if you want to go really down low and you want to do it for your own business case, then do it. Now back to the high level. So we talked about parameters, we talked about the server tab. Now let's put it all together. And what you'll recognize here is that this is the 18,000, almost 19K US dollars in terms of actual purchase cost in this particular model, because we have built this model that it goes through a reseller or a distributor. There is a additional cost of $1,200 to actually get it ready for you, to get it locked down, to get everything installed, to get the ZeroS on it. So there's the cost for that. And then you have a total capex, or a total investment cost of almost $20K. Then You'll recognize the numbers here, which are the numbers for actually putting it to powering it on, having it some management fee. Again, the data center will charge some fees for your rack management or whatever. We've taken the assumption that it's $10 a month. The network that it's connected to is $44 in this case. So the actual running cost of running this server is $150. That's it. So you bought it, you put it in a data center, you spend 20K, and you're paying $150 a month to have it online. Now we start with the farming bit, where, as you know, and that's why you're looking at this model, a box with us that you put to the network has a digital return for two things. It has a digital return for actually making it available without any workload, which is this piece. And it has a return from actually carrying workloads, which is something that we're building on. We're doing test net research with developers that are putting the first workloads on it. 100% backwards compatible with Docker. So we foresee that once this is launched publicly, once this is launched production, a lot of people will start to investigate and push their Docker container-based workloads toward this platform. First, let's start about the farming. So there's no workload. Then the major assumption here, again, everything else is determined by the box and by average pricing for these units we talked about, is that when you connect the box, there is a actual token price. And at this point in time, we're just before the TDE launch, the token distribution event. The pricing is set at $12 which in our case is the launching price, is the starting price for the actual liquidity of the token. I mean, tokens are being generated by equipment. There are people that have farmed already for a year. That means the tokens are available and the tokens are going to be up for purchase very, very soon. Current token price, 12 cents. Then you'll recognize what we talked about earlier is that we have 61 compute units and 172 storage units, which are in the box, which we recognize. And for those, that's the important bit here, there is an average market pricing that we currently agree with, that Amazon uses, Google uses for a similar kind of compute and storage capacity, that we use to calculate the full sales potential of your box. So the full sales potential is very simply the number of compute units times the average compute unit price worldwide, plus the average number of storage unit times the average price worldwide for a storage unit. That's the sales capacity value that you have inside your box. We don't recognize that that box will be there for 60 months. So we multiply it by 60. And obviously, if we go back to monthly, we'll divide it by 60. And we then also divide it by the token price at point of creation on the grid, at point of pushing the box onto the grid. Again, 12 cents is the starting. If you wait for 6 months, it might be 14 cents. If you wait for 6 months, it might be 20 cents, which means in the end, you get less tokens. So the token economics today are very good for starting a farm and actually farming. We then have a difficulty factor, which is we divide the total number of tokens divided by 8. So we undervalue your box at this point in time by a factor of 8. And again, in the white paper, I'll make a referral or a reference to it later on, this formula is displayed in there in total. So your box, using this, total sales capacity available, in 5 years, so 60 months, divided by the difficulty factor of 8, you'll get and farm 164,000 tokens and a little bit over 5 years. Divided by 60, you will get, because again, you will only get these tokens if you meet your SLA. Your SLA is your own specified SLA. You will get 2,740 tokens once you've specified it per month and once you've achieved it. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Connect your box. Make it up, make it powered on, have it networked, and then you'll get at a monthly basis this amount of tokens. You can change, if you want to, the actual starting price. Again, like I said, the model is dynamic. If you change it to 14 cents, you'll see that you'll get about 20K less tokens, because again, starting price of the token is higher. So again, a repeat of myself. The sooner and at the lower token price you connect, the higher your return in actual tokens over 5 years, because we don't adjust this. Once you connect, it stays at that level for 5 years. Usage, and this is where your own creativity comes in. So how much capacity do you think will be sold? And take it onto board that you don't have to market your own capacity, you don't have to do anything. This capacity is available in a grid. People will have the means through an application called the Cockpit to actually find your capacity, and based on the performance you've had in the past, you met your SLA every month, so tick in the box, green capacity, based on the pricing you will give it, because your commercial pricing is going to be in fiat and dollars, and the lower you have your pricing at, the more interesting it is going to be to people. So again, that's why you need to be a little own self-entrepreneur. But you can play around these numbers. Like, we assume over 5 years that 60% of it will be used. In the beginning, a lot less. At the end, it will be full-fledged. After 5 years, your box will be fully used. No doubt about it. Again, we all consume more data. We all consume more storage. We all consume more compute. There is going to be a need in your geography to have this box fully occupied. 60% is what we do, what we state, and then we do see that there's going to be a price erosion over the period because things get cheaper over time. We assume 20% based on the fact that we've researched other vendors and other vendors' cost structures, and in order for them to stay margin making, in order for them to stay profitable, they can't lower their price that much. They will get better capacity because the computers that they will use get more capabilities, but in actuality, the actual price per unit is not going to go lower that much, because that's where they will start losing out margin. And these two things are important. So there is an earnings model for us as well in two ways. We've got a foundation that supports and promotes all of this activity to build out this grid, which is called the Threefold Foundation. They will get 10% of usage, only usage of your capacity. And then the technology provider, which is Threefold Tech, will get 10% of the actual consumption on your box as well. So 20% in total of the consumption on your box. 10 goes to the foundation, 10 goes to TFTech. In money, that means $65,000 in terms of revenue you'll make over the IT capacity based on this $19,000 box. Not a bad deal. So how does this work out? Say, and this is going back to a token economy and going back to ROI, say that you hold on to your tokens until the end of the 5 years. You don't sell anything in between because that's what you want. That's our assumption, right? If you do want to do it, then please do, but you're not going to be able to model that with this particular model, because we assume, and you can do your own modeling based on collect so many tokens in year 1, sell them all, collect so many tokens in year 2, sell them all, collect so many tokens in year 3, sell them all at the expected token price. We say at the end of the 5 years, we expect the token price to be from 12 cents to $1. And that's what we believe we will be. Like I said, we undervalued the capacity by a factor of 8 by using a difficulty factor of 8, and 8 times 12 cents is 96, which is very close to $1. So we believe that that undervaluation over 5 years will catch up, and the token will have a liquidity which makes it truly represent the value that it has in terms of actual sales value on the net, as in it will be on par with what capacity is being sold at. We say after 5 years that you have a $1 exit token price. Then you can see that 164 tokens that you collected for farming is 164,000 tokens, and the 65,488 tokens farmed is $65,488, which is in total $229 made, which gets you to, and this is a very exciting bit, an ROI of 10x over 5 years with this as an investment and a monthly cost of this, which I think is really, 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 really good. This will go less and less because the difficulty factor will go up depending on, and again, this is a mechanism where you have to read into, the foundation will see to it that not too much capacity is being brought online and not used, because that's wasteful. So we will have a balancing act, and that's done by actually changing the difficulty factor, by attracting more people to come online if there is a shortage of capacity, and by slowing the intake of capacity if there is a very high level of unused capacity. That's the way we want to moderate that capacity being available. Again, we have nothing, and no benefit is there to just bring online a lot of capacity which is unused. That's not what we want to achieve. So that's it in a nutshell. There's a lot more to tell you, but this should give you a very good starting point to actually formulate your thoughts around this. And again, like I said, where this video will be posted, there will be a lot of, not a lot, there will be a few people listed there that you can ask further questions to. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and see you all and speak to you all soon. Thank you.